Hello. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Backyard Breakdowns. This is first in a series of interview podcasts where we're going to be breaking down the music and learning a little more about some of the releases on Yardlights Music. My name is Christian, and I'm joined today by my friend and collaborator, Mr. Rod Alonzo. What's going on, Rod?
Hello, Christian. How are you?
Doing awesome. Where does this podcast find you?
I am in Fort Greene, Brooklyn at the moment, in New York, for those of you who have never heard of Brooklyn.
Long-time resident, right? First-time caller?
I have lived in New York City since 1988.
That's a pretty long time.
I have lived in Brooklyn since 1998.
Oh, wow. Before it was cool.
Anytime I move to the neighborhood, you know it's in trouble. You know gentrification is about to happen.
It's going to be the wrong side of the tracks real quick. Is that what's up?
No, it
right
means
side of the tracks.
gentrification is moving in. It's going to become a lot more bland.
Right. Yeah. That's the urban plague that we live in.
You lived in Brooklyn too, right? Didn't you tell
I
me?
never lived there, but I spent a lot of time there. And
right.
I have a good friend who lives very close to you, my friend Gintis. We've talked about him.
Right.
He plays drums. Incredible musician. Really good friend of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Fort Greene as well. So I think you guys are neighbors of sorts.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, I wanted to, just let everybody know why we're doing this, because we have an announcement. So this marks the release of a new song by Rod called Too Late. The song Too Late is released on my label, Yardlights Records. And this song is something that we worked on together. Rod wrote the song and produced it in his home studio. And I mixed it right here in my studio here in Los Angeles. So we have a little bi-coastal connection going on here. And maybe we should probably explain how we met, right?
For sure.
And yeah, so we met on TikTok, as you do nowadays. I encountered Rod's music on there, and I was really, really struck by it. I became an immediate fan. If you haven't heard any of Rod's music yet, please go check out. He has some incredible songs. Some of my favorites are "Comforts of Home." Incredible song. I love that song.
Thank
you. Slow Driver is obviously another banger. I know you've done really well with those tunes too on the social media.
Those seem to be the most popular.
People love those songs, and with good reason. I think we originally kind of connected over a mutual love of a certain type of music, right?
Well, in the world of TikTok, I think you and I sort of were both, listening to a lot of music, supporting a lot of people, and we supported each other. And then, we started having a conversation, and I believe, you said, "Hey, I'm really into your music. Let's have a chat. I'd love to chat more." And so we did. And you said, you said that you sensed that I had New Orleans in my background because you're really into the meters. Is that what you were talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a style of music and just a culture of music that I've been into for a very, very long time. It's just the music of New Orleans.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
Don't you actually have some roots there? Is that right?
Yeah. My mom is from there, and therefore my family goes back in New Orleans, back to the 1700s.
Yeah. That's a while.
So when I was growing up, and actually there is a connection to Too Late. I don't know if I have laid that on you.
I can hear the connection because the vibe of the song, it's infused with that New Orleans flavor. I can feel
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, no, it's you never know what people are going to hear. I think that's what's fascinating. I played a gig on Monday, and I did play the song Too Late. I've never played it for anybody before,
Cool.
except for you.
Solo style?
And Pete, yeah, solo acoustic.
Very cool.
And while I played it, people started dancing. And
No
I was
way.
I was like, "Oh, I can't believe it."
They didn't even need a drum kit.
Well, no, but I mean, just to your point, like whatever people hear in it, it definitely has a strong rhythm to it, even without a
Yeah.
drum kit. So
Absolutely. Wow, that's so cool.
yeah,
So that was the live debut, huh?
that was the live debut.
I'd love to know a little more about how you got into playing music. I mean, I know you got these roots in New Orleans, but where did it
Okay.
start for you?
Even though my roots are from New Orleans and also my dad was from Mexico City, I was born in Michigan, born in the 1970s. So my parents were, both of my parents really love music, though neither one of them is a musician.
Mm.
But they are both very, very passionate about music. And my dad was really passionate about classical guitar and flamenco. He had a record collection. I'm sure maybe those of us who were born in the 70s can relate to this, but we had the living room.
Oh yeah.
There was like the hi-fi in the
Yeah,
living
yeah.
room. And then underneath that was like this rack of records. And he had a lot of Segovia, a lot of Montoya, a lot of mariachi music, flamenco. And so it was decreed when I was very young that I would learn how to play the guitar.
Cool.
So I was told that I would have to take guitar lessons. My father wanted me to play classical guitar. And so my mom would drive me to Goodell Music in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Dave Sullivan was my
We'll
first.
get to Sheboygan in a second too.
Dave Sullivan was my first teacher in this back room of Goodell Music, and I used the Aaron Shearer book, and I can still, the truth is though, and I know you're a classical musician too. I
Was,
didn't. It's like riding a bike,
I suppose.
but I did not really learn how to read music. I was doing it all by
Okay.
ear,
But you were kind of faking that you were learning the notes? Wow.
Yeah, and I can remember the teachers always, no, that's not what, and I realized
That sounds a lot like a classical teacher. No, you're doing it wrong.
but I realize, now that obviously music is a language, and I absorbed a lot of music when I was a kid. I mean, in addition
Okay.
to the music that my parents were always playing, I mean, and again, we as children of the 70s, I spent a lot of time in the car listening to the radio,
Yeah.
and the, just the scenery would be going by the Midwest, driving to Chicago, and just all the songs on the radio. I mean, back then, I mean, my parents didn't even, there were no tape players in the cars for us. Like,
The radio was really important back then.
we were listening to, so I absorbed all of that stuff. I eventually sort of started, even though I was supposed to be learning classical guitar, I started strumming. And one day in Sheboygan, when I was in fourth grade, a kid
Wait,
came in.
maybe we should stop for a second and just let people know. Classical's usually done with your fingers and the nails, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So all of this stuff. So when he says strumming, he was getting into the picking and strumming chords more. Yeah.
Exactly. I was doing a lot of this. So a kid in my fourth grade class brought his guitar in for show and tell to school. And he sat down and he played Kenny Rogers' The Gambler.
Oh,
And
amazing.
it was like, boom. I was like,
Oh yeah.
I want to do that. And from then on, despite my father's classical inclinations, once I learned how to play the gambler, anytime we had any company over, I was required to play that song. So
Amazing.
that was my showpiece for quite a while.
Did you sing it too?
Oh yeah,
Oh, nice.
oh yeah, yeah.
So singer-songwriter, that goes way back.
Yeah. So eventually, I went through a huge sort of Beatles portal, listening to a lot, especially, I started with the Red album and the Blue album, if that means anything to you,
Me
those
too, yeah.
anthologies.
Yep.
And then when I was 15, I went to this music camp called Interlochen in northern
Yeah,
Michigan.
interlocking.
And I went there for music and for theater. I went there for classical guitar and for theater. And that was when I wrote my first song. So
Oh, cool.
1985, I was 15 years old. And that was when I sat down and I was so into the Beatles and I was trying to sound like Paul McCartney. I was sort of aping the song I Will from the White Album. And that was my first song. I still have a recording of it.
Oh, wow.
That was sort of the I guess I would say that you kind of know how you think something is supposed to sound in your brain. It's like you're visiting. I'm sure I mean, you're a writer too. You're a musician too. Like you go to this. It's like you're entering this place, this sort of space, where suddenly something's revealed to you. It's like, what if the melody did this? What if the chords did this?
Yeah.
And that was the first time that ever happened to me. And it doesn't always happen. But when it does happen, and Too Late is an example of when it did happen, it's a very cool experience. And to be honest with you, I never really invested too much in becoming a better guitar player. I've had fits and starts of being a better guitar player, trying to be a better guitar player. But I did put a lot of work into songwriting.
Yeah.
So that was a choice as far as my, the Malcolm Gladwell thing, the 10,000 hours.
Yes.
So that's my 10,000 hours is songwriting.
Songwriting, yeah. And you're referring to this idea that you just kind of hear music, right, in your head, where it just kind of comes to you. Do you usually have that happen, or do you kind of sit down and work it out?
So my process, I think, for many years has been to sit with, in the beginning, it was sitting with a tape deck. Mm-hmm. And I would have what I would call idea tapes.
Yeah.
So I just put in my cassette, bang around on the guitar, and then if something comes, I tape it. And I definitely do not finish something then.
Right.
I will tape, I don't know, 2 or 3 ideas, and then I don't listen to it for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then if I come back to it and it still kind of gives me a little, ooh, I know that's something that I should flesh out.
I definitely have a similar process. I think a lot of artists these days do the voice memo thing in a similar fashion. Yeah,
totally.
So.
There are 2 other strong alternate versions. One is I went through a time when I really wanted to develop my lyrics. Yeah. So I would write the lyrics first. The song that I have put up on Spotify called Little Brother
is an
example.
Another banger.
It's an I wrote those lyrics first without any
cool.
No music, just ba 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 ba. And then I wrote the music on a bass. I looked at the words and I just sort of came up with like a hook on the bass or a line on the bass, and then I sang over it, and that's how that song emerged. And then the other third sort of tried and true version that I use to write songs is I'll pick up an album of an artist maybe that I have in my CD collection.
Yeah.
And I'll just look at a song title that I don't know, and I write a song based on that title.
Oh,
like
cool.
you look at the title and you can almost hear how it should go.
Yeah.
And so then I write a song based on that. Those are the 3 methods.
That's cool. Well, whatever your methods are, it's working for you.
Thank you.
But I'm curious how we get from, learning guitar as a young lad and then getting into like writing and recording your own music. That happens a little later, right?
At Interlochen, I made some really good friends, songwriting friends. And this would be in the mid-'80s. And my first real recording experience, one of those friends named Jason Krigler, amazing guitar player, he borrowed a 4-track, a Tascam 4-track. And so we huddled over this 4-track one New Year's Eve and recorded what we call Demo 87, which was like our first multi-track thing. And it was so thrilling. I would say that was probably the most fulfilling experience I've ever had in my life, was having access to this space where we had instruments and a Tascam. But we knocked out, I would say, 8 songs. And I mean, of course, those were like the best songs in the world. You were like, oh, I never knew it could sound this way. It was incredible.
I had the opposite experience. I would record things and be all hyped on it, and then I'd listen back and be like, no way.
Well, no, I mean, I'm kidding. Oh, wait, in the moment or later?
Like early on. My early experiences recording, I realized that it was a lot harder than I thought.
Well, and I obviously I know you a little bit. I don't know you that well, but I would also venture to guess that you have ears that are geared towards sound quality, which
Maybe, yeah,
I
that
do
could
not.
be. Right, right. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah. I
I get
mean,
it.
so I still have those recordings, those early recordings, and yes, I can, of course, I can hear that they have problems, but I also, they mean something to me as far as writing and
Totally. That's something I've
production of music.
realized about older like songs that I've worked on. You know, it's really hard to be like 100% happy with something when you finish it, and then
Yep.
just, I think there's sort of this delusion that that's what happens with an artist. You finish it and you're like, that's as good as it can be. It's perfect. But many artists sort of struggle with this feeling of like, it could be better, or I should have mixed the snare different or something like that. And I often get that, but it's, you can chase your tail if you get too much into it. You have to commit and say, this is it.
Well, and one of the other friend who Jason and I recorded with, his name was John Williams. He was the one who was like totally into production. So it was actually kind of funny because he was a huge Van Halen fan
Cool.
and a huge Buzzcocks fan. So he knew everything about the way Van Halen produced their albums, and he was the one he first did double and triple tracking vocals.
Oh, cool. He was up to that already.
Never occurred to me. None of that stuff. He was super into, like, I'll never forget. He's like, here's how you mic a drum set. And he put, like an SM57 right up to the snare. And then he put like something else in the kick. And he's like, that's all you need to do. Like you have that SM57 right between the snare and the hi-hat. And, and I was just like, I didn't know what any of this stuff was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, fast forward in the mid 90s, I wanted to make a better recording. So I had friends who had better equipment. I recorded a couple demos on, what was it called? DAT?
Yeah, DAT. Or ADAT maybe?
Yeah, ADAT maybe. But then the real sort of first studio opportunity came, and that was the songs that one of the songs, I Miss the Comforts of Home. That was recorded in a studio called Jake's Kitchen Sink with an incredible band, New York musicians, Tony Mason, Tim Lunsell, Jason Krigler, John Deli, Monica Cohen, and Pete Kepler produced it, or he was the engineer. He was the engineer.
It sounds like you had some heavyweights on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, after that, I made an album with a guy named Chris Brown, who he was in a Canadian band called the Bourbon Tabernacle Choir, and then he had a solo career with Chris Brown and Kate Fenner. So I recorded an album called Cyclists. That's the Slow Driver is from those sessions. And so Anton Fear is playing drums on Slow Driver, and Tony Scher.
I know that name. He's big time.
He's big time. Time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Tony
How'd you
Scher,
get connected with him?
through Chris.
Okay, cool.
Through Chris. And Tony Scher plays bass.
And that was all done in New York, right?
That was done in Chris's apartment. He had an apartment on President Street and 3rd Avenue in Park Slope. And it was one of his first productions, cool. as a producer. So that was a huge learning experience.
That's like your first time in a proper studio, taking your time.
First time in a, I don't know about you, but I was really into the band.
Yeah.
I'm really into the band.
Of course, yeah.
And you hear about those sort of situations where they're in a house, music from Big Pink, That was like the music from Big Pink experience.
Yeah, cool.
And yes, that was the last extended studio time. I have been in professional studios. I've been to Avatar. I've been to Electric Ladyland. And since that experience with Chris, I was really scared of recording things on GarageBand. I put off learning about it for such a long time. I was so intimidated by it because I loved the whole 4-track experience.
Yeah.
But
did you guys do that one to tape? I'm kind of curious because that might have been around that time, or you were using Pro Tools at that time.
Slow Driver?
Yeah.
That was Pro Tools. I Miss the Comforts of Home was on tape.
Okay, cool.
That was on tape. Oh, sorry, and I did forget one demo that I made. I made a demo with Joseph Briggs. That's right. He had a studio way uptown. That was recorded in 97.
I haven't released any of those songs yet, though.
Well, maybe we'll get to that eventually. We'll work on that. Well, let's get to Too Late. And I'm kind of curious. Well, so we touched a little bit on production, and you mentioned that you're now using GarageBand. So Too Late is this the first song that you produced yourself completely, or you've done a few others on GarageBand already, right? Yeah.
I went through a long dry spell. Like I was very disillusioned by the songwriting scene in New York City. I allowed it to really get to me. My spirits had really fallen because
I would play gigs and people wouldn't be there, and it was
I've been there, bro. I played a lot of empty rooms. I get it.
It was so expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, it can wear on you when it's not really working. It seems like you kind of broke through that, though, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Well, so this is what happened. I went through a long period where I was just like, what's the point? You know, I really had given up. And I had some really supportive friends, and the pandemic really affected me in that, you know, I'm a teacher. I'm a elementary school teacher, and part of my shtick has been playing songs for kids in the classroom, like
oh, how cool.
For many years. You know, I just teach kids songs, and you couldn't do that during the pandemic.
Right.
You could not be in a room with people and sing.
That doesn't work with Zoom lag, that's for sure.
Well, I did it. I did do it on Zoom.
Yeah, okay.
I did it. But what I realized was that I realized two things. One, music was very, very important to people. Just there's something about music, this sort of unknown thing that it does for us. I know it sounds like stating the obvious, but it's true.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, you know, people kept saying, hey, you know, I like your songs. Like you're a good songwriter. I read Jeff Tweedy's book. I forget what it's called.
I have that. Mm-hmm.
What is it called? Like One Song, How to Write One Song, maybe?
I forget the name.
That book kind of really helped me. And I realized, like, nobody cares. Like,
right.
Like, and I don't mean it to sound negative. I just mean it like, what am I afraid of? You know, like, sure, people care. Like, you're an example of somebody who was so kind and so supportive, and we have a very positive relationship. Like, you're just a very positive person. So you do care. But you're kind of like a diamond in the rough. You're like one in a million, right? Like, I don't meet people like you every day. So this was like a cool meeting. But for the most part, I put myself out there on TikTok every day.
Yeah.
And I am now okay with it. I don't get crestfallen if, you know, it's not successful.
And I think, I mean, success is such a moving target. I'm not even sure I really believe in that word. I think that word itself is actually, in some ways, kind of toxic because, you know, it's very ambiguous, context specific. It's kind of a meaningless term. What I like about you and what I noticed right away was just your commitment to your art, and you know the fact that you're just unafraid to promote yourself and your earlier work. Like that's what I thought was so cool, is like, you know, you were jumping on TikTok promoting these songs that came out, you know, decades ago, and you were actually like getting some traction out of it, and people were appreciating it. And I definitely find that very inspiring.
TikTok is a kind of a language.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to do it. And again, like, nobody really cares. So
that's a good mindset to have, you know. Nobody cares either way. So do it for yourself.
And so you and I have mentioned too, like I started watching guys like Matt Bacon, and he was saying, like, it doesn't, like, you can put up your old songs. It's like you're sitting on gold. Like and so then I finally thought, I was like, oh my gosh, I spent thousands of dollars recording these songs, and they're not doing anything, right? So I just put them out there.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I mean, nobody has said to me, oh, this stuff sounds dated, or
well, it's kind of a classic sound that you're working with. So it's not, I think it's not something that gets old, you know, the style of music that you're doing. Not for me anyway.
So specifically with Too Late. I recorded a bunch of stuff on GarageBand to greater or lesser success. You know, I definitely realized that, you know, I've got like 4 or 5 songs that I recorded that are not great, but I learned a lot in the process.
Sure.
With Too Late, I recorded not the version that you worked on, not the tracks that you have.
That's right. There was another version.
There are 2 other versions. There's a first version.
Right.
So here's what happened. I was doing the jam session, you know, like my writing session, and there's a New Orleans singer named Irma Thomas. She worked with Alan Toussaint, and she her biggest hit was Time Is on My Side.
Yeah.
She also does It's Raining. Alan Toussaint wrote It's Raining. It's raining so hard. Looks like it's going to rain all night. Right?
Banger.
That's her. Her voice is just unbelievable. So I was sitting over there in my space where I write, looks out on the street there, late at night, and I was playing C chord or G chord, I forget which one, and her voice just came, too late, and it just like spoke to me.
It just falls in your lap sometimes, right?
It falls in your lap, and I was like, that's Irma Thomas, you know, and I just kept doing it.
So you summoned Irma Thomas for this song. Incredible.
And it just kept going. So that happened, and then a friend of mine, a colleague, asked me if I had ever heard the artist Japanese Breakfast.
Oh yeah.
And I hadn't, and I listened to her, and I was really struck by her writing. I feel is very melodic back to what you said in kind of like a classic rock kind of way. Like the melody is very strong. But the arrangements and the production are very contemporary. Yeah. Like she puts a lot of dissonant sound and interesting harmonies and interesting instruments. So when it came time to recording the original version of Too Late, I was like, I want it to be like an Irma Thomas song, like a girl group song, as if Japanese Breakfast was doing it.
Very cool. Yeah, I can see that sort of thread now revealing itself.
So I added all kinds of, and I don't remember how much survives of. Well, a lot of the arrangement.
We can look at it. Yeah, there's tons of little tidbits.
Yep.
Ear candy. You know, cool little things that come in and out of the tune, and definitely a feature of the production for sure. Yeah.
So that's what I was going for, and I think as you and I have discussed a couple of times, you know, looking at it from a production / arrangement standpoint, I think something that I am still wrestling with is I hear lots of ideas.
Yeah.
I get lots of little, ooh, what if this happened? Ooh, what if this? I think you then have to be able to say, okay, like we don't need this here. Like maybe this should only come in once. Right. You know, maybe this, you know, I am trying to learn more about that, and I spend time listening to albums. A huge school for me, a huge learning experience. I can't remember if you and I have talked about this, but did you ever watch any of those classic rock documentaries that were on VH1?
I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So there's one for Rumors, Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Lindsey Buckingham just sits down and he just like he takes apart these songs and explains like, here's why we put this here. You know, so whenever I'm doing this stuff, I'm like, okay, like Lindsey Buckingham puts this line of like feedback in You Can Go Your Own Way. It's just like, if you listen to that track, there's just like this feedback that comes in on the second verse.
Yeah,
this sustained feedback. And I'm just like, that is so cool. And I never noticed it before, right? So I'm just always throwing stuff like that into...
The kitchen sink method. Back to the kitchen sink, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, because that can be fun, and experimenting and kind of going deep with the ear candy. It can be a really fun experience, but But then there's another side of that polarity, right? Where you got to let the song be the song and you don't want it to get in the way of it. I would say you did a great job on this one, keeping things very tasteful. You know, you can still hear the vocal, the song comes through, but it just has these embellishments, which is very cool.
Yeah, I think, you know, you and I have talked about it. And what you're saying is absolutely true. You want, I think the ideal is you want the song to flow organically and nothing to call attention to itself. It is its own universe in a way. It's
right. And that's kind of what we ended up doing in the mix. And we can talk a little more about the mix too. I'm going to show the session and we can chat a little bit about it. But I wanted to highlight something quickly, and that would be the guitar work of Mr. Pete Galub.
Yes.
Who plays guitar on the song, right?
That's correct.
Let me pull up this photo. There's Mr. Pete Galub right there.
That's Pete.
Yeah, so tell me about how you met Pete and how he ended up being featured on the song.
Okay. So I met Pete through a woman named Greta Gertler. And Greta...
You sound like you know some cool people in New York, man.
New York's fun. It's fun.
It is fun. I got to come out there.
Well, so Greta is an incredible songwriter. She would do a lot of sessions at a bar, a music venue in Park Slope called Barbess. She has a band called the Universal Thump. Her band used to be called Universal Thump. Greta is sort of like just a New York fixture, and she would have these salons in her apartment where different writers would come together, and we would all hang out, and it would sort of be like a round robin type thing where somebody would play a song, we'd talk about it, then the next person would play a song, and Pete was at one of those sessions, and he's just a totally nice guy, and we would see each other occasionally over the years. Well, we became friends on social media, and I would notice Pete goes out to see shows every night. Like
that's awesome.
He's one of the most, he's just a very, very supportive guy.
That's cool.
Just a genuine lover of music, and
love that.
I would see him on Facebook or Instagram. I was like, God, Pete goes out all the time. And somebody like Matt Bacon, you know, says this, he emphasizes this in his TikToks, that you got to be out there. You got to be out in the city, you know. And
it's about community, right?
It totally is.
That's what we're in this for, right?
Yes. And, you know, I knew that if I went out, the Silos.
Sounds familiar.
They were kind of a late 80s. Walter is the sort of the core of that band. He's an incredible songwriter, and he's coming out with a new album. And Pete, right now at this very moment, his playing is going to be on that album.
Cool.
The new Silos record. So basically, I just started going out more. Pete, we started seeing more of each other. Pete was also playing for this great band called Tape Hiss. Ernie Brooks, who was in the Modern Lovers. Mm-hmm. Steve Shelley, who was in Sonic Youth.
Sick.
And then some other people. So Pete was playing with them too. And those shows were amazing. So anyway, Pete and I have been hanging out a lot. What happened was I was having challenges with Too Late because I recorded that first version that I told you about.
That's right. There have been a few versions, right?
My original conception was, like I said, sort of Irma Thomas meets Japanese Breakfast. And Pete listened to it and he was like, your vocals are off. And I loved that he said that. You know, like it's not everybody that can give you like honest criticism.
You get the best real feedback from musicians that you trust, for sure.
Yep. And I totally trust him. You know, he's like, your vocals are off. And I was like, okay.
What did he mean off? Was he talking about like the style, the amount of energy?
I think it was a double whammy. I think they were off pitch wise. Mm-hmm. I think that my vocals were pitchy, and they were off because the song, I was singing it in a key where I was basically singing in falsetto. So it was like,
so you ended up changing the key, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you moved it down?
I moved it down. in my head, back to what you hear in your head, like I'm hearing Irma Thomas in my head, or sometimes I'm hearing Smokey Robinson or Sam Cooke. So I'm hearing "Too late, the feeling is
Right,
gone."
sure. Falsetto
You know,
style, yeah.
now I don't know what that sounds like. In my head, it sounds really great, but somebody else listening to it is like, "Ooh, Rod, why don't sing it like that?" Right?
Well, you
So,
got to sing it like you, right?
right.
Maybe that's the thing.
So when going through the process, when I re-recorded Too Late, the version that you worked on, that we collaborated on, it had been dropped a whole step and one half, I believe. I think the original version was in C, and I think the one that we worked on was
we're
in
in A.
A.
Yeah, and I guess for people listening, that's a common thing that you can and should do if the need arises, is to change the key of the song based on the range of the singer, right?
Right.
And you do want it to be in that sweet spot. Everybody has a different range. Some people are lower, some people are higher. And if you try to do a different range, it might not sound as musical or as natural.
Yeah, and you were very kind. I mean, when you agreed to collaborate with me, the first thing you told me was like, yeah, I don't know what the right term is. I tweaked, I adjusted your vocals.
Well, we did do a little vocal tuning, but that's not something that I do. Like I will do that whenever the need arises, but I'd like to say something to your credit.
Yeah.
Because you informed me later on, I didn't realize this, that you sang the whole thing in one take. Is that true?
Yeah.
See, and we're going to talk a little more about vocal comping. Most records, for those who don't know, vocal comping is when you're compiling multiple performances and getting the best version of each line to make, kind of a master take. I mean, almost all records are made that way nowadays. And so, it was a little bit of an uphill battle for you, I think, to get one take all the way through. A lot of people just go in sections, pick the best pieces. So
right.
To your credit, the performance is great anyway. I just polished it up a little bit,
Well, so Pete, I was getting Pete's honest feedback. Pete he's an incredible guitar player. He knows so much about music. And he said,
you can tell just by hearing him play, honestly. He is that dude is steeped in music.
Well, if you get a chance, I mean, he has a couple of albums on Spotify. So
maybe we could put those links up in the show notes.
For sure.
Cool.
He's
shout
incredible.
out Pete Galub.
Exactly.
I see you, Pete.
So he then said, he was like, Rod, I can help you with this song if you want.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay, thank you. And so one night he came over, and I didn't, back to your question about studios, like I think the studio is such an interesting tool, an interesting space, because there's so many different approaches to it. And I didn't know if Pete was just going to come in and I wasn't sure like how he wanted to do it. And to be honest with you, me being a songwriter, mostly a songwriter, and being a very, very entry-level musician, it's so tricky. Like, when somebody plays some guitar, it's not like I'm going to be like, try it again, and this time, blah, 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 and then back to your whole thought about, well, what do? Do you just record like 10 different takes of something and then you comp it? Or, there's so many different...
I think when you do all of that, you probably get the best result. You got to chisel and give feedback and then still care every step of the way. But it seems like you guys are just kind of finding your way or getting to know each other as far as working together, right?
Yeah. Well, I've worked with a lot of great people. I mean, through luck, Anton Fear was one of them. There's a really funny story about that when he played drums on Slow Driver. Do we have time for me to tell you a quick story?
Yeah, totally.
So Anton, I had told Chris Brown, I think the opening verse of the verse of Slow Driver should have a beat like "Reach Out, I'll Be There," like by the Four Tops. four tops. Bunkum, 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 right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, and if you're feeling, you can't
That
go
Motown
on.
style, yeah.
Right? So I had told Chris that in an earlier conversation. Then I meet Anton Fear, and I'm freaking out because he's like a very famous musician. And Chris is just like, "Hey, Anton, Rod thinks you should do this for the verse." And I was like, don't tell Anton what to do, you know? And Anton sort of scowls at me a little bit. He's like, "You mean like that?" And I was like, "Oh, just do whatever you want. So we spent hours, like he was talk about comping. Like he was working out all this stuff to play on Slow Driver.
So
Like,
that was like a bunch of different takes that were kind of.
well, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
So we record like a track that is completely like I've never seen anybody do. He's like, "Let me do that fill again. Nope, I'm gonna do that fill again." Blah blah. And then we come after like an hour or two, we come up with a composite drum track that we're like, "Oh yeah, that's good. That's it. That's the one. Great." Then Anton says, "Let me just do one more." And he plays the whole thing straight through with the four tops beginning. And that's the track that's on the thing. He did it all in one take.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a pro right there. So maybe that's the bar. That's the bar that you're, trying to get to. I understand that. It's hard to do it in one take, Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a lost art form. I mean, that's the way people used to do it,
Yeah.
Get the whole band set up, get a good take, and go from there.
I mean, back to your thing about studio time, though. I mean, that's the thing is that in the early days, I was always freaking out about money,
Yeah, time, yeah. That's a unique vibe when you're in the studio and you're kind of stressing about, because you have to you have those opposing forces of getting it right and then getting it within the budget. Those two things don't necessarily align all the time. I hear that for sure. Yeah, it's quite a luxury to, be able to just take the time and really get it right without having to worry about the clock ticking, for sure.
Yeah.
But Pete's work on this song is fantastic. It's a huge part of the mix that I ended up putting together, because there's two different guitar parts, and I'd like to play a little bit of the session right now too. We can check it out. But yeah, so what I did with Pete's parts is he has a few different overdub solo parts as well, but there's two main rhythm parts, and I just panned one to one side and one to the other, and that really kind of made the whole mix just make sense, because we've got all the little elements that are happening, and those are mostly kind of living somewhere in the middle and kind of buried. But then, Pete's work is very much like the anchor that really kind of holds it together. Should we check out the session a little bit? Maybe we can play a little spots.
Something I've never asked you before.
Yeah,
and
please.
If you want to share, if you think it's pertinent, you just received the tracks.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we should talk a little bit about that.
You opened up the box, and I'm curious, how you put something like that together when you get all these parts, and how do you make sense of it? How do you wade into it?
Yeah, mixing is it's the forest through the trees, isn't it? It's not the trees, as we were saying before. It took a little while to get it together. So you started this in GarageBand. A lot of the stuff was just recorded right in GarageBand. I mixed it in Logic. For those who don't know, you can basically open up a GarageBand session in Logic and mix from there. I knew I liked the song, but I think mixes often reveal themselves as you work on it. And so you can have a plan, and your plan might go completely awry and not work at all. So you kind of have to it's a bit of a choose your own adventure. I always start with the low end. So getting the drums and bass was number one. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing that really kind of defined it was Pete's work. When I figured out what to do with Pete's guitars, that's where things really, really came together. And then I definitely want to talk about the incredible background vocals and your inspiration behind that. That's such a feature of the tune. But I was thinking I could just maybe play, a small bit of the tune from maybe the beginning into this first chorus section. We'll check it out.
To is gone. Too late. It's time to move on. And I find it hard to hear you say that I'm wrong. Too late. The feeling is gone.
So I'll just stop it there. I just wanted to maybe point out some of these awesome guitars. So yeah, there's the one that is living on the right side. That's the basic rhythm part.
Yep.
Kind of like power chords. And then we've got the little chanky part that comes in. It features a little bit at the beginning, but then it comes in a little later. There's this one. This lives on the left side. No, this is also on the right side, excuse me. And then this other guitar comes in a little later when the background vocals hit, and that would be this one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I absolutely love that guitar playing. It's
Nice.
So it kind of has that. That might be a big part of that whole kind of New Orleans vibe I get from it, because that feels very much like the Meters or, the Neville Brothers or something.
He told me, he's like, I hear some things. And so I don't know where it comes in the mix, but there's like a sustained.
Oh, the guitar bend? Yeah, we should probably play that too.
Something like that.
Another incredible feature. That would be this part right here. So anyway, that long note is also, of course, a big feature of the song too. So cool to have this long sustainy thing along with kind of these chanky parts.
Mm-hmm.
Very neat. Maybe I could just give a little tour of the session quick.
Please.
The drums are very simple. It's really just like kick and hi-hat for the most part. There is another kit that comes in at the end.
Yeah. So Pete, another suggestion that he made, and it's totally, I want to credit him because it actually really affected me. He's like, you should not have the snare come in. Like,
I was actually going to ask about that. I was curious about that because there's almost no snare. I mean, it comes in. There's another kit that comes in at the end, which it really creates this like kind of climactic moment. But most of the song doesn't even have a snare.
Yeah, he said, he's like, if you have a snare, you become the prisoner of the snare. He's like, take the snare out.
Wow,
which I did.
Is really cool. That is a really unconventional and amazing approach. I was wondering if that was intentional or you just kind of did it,
And so then this sort of pushed my GarageBand knowledge, because like, I do think the snare should come in eventually. So I put it in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, here I can play the part at the end then.
Yeah.
So that we can hear. So I'll just play like kind of going into that section. So it's just kick and hi-hat, and then the other kit comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So this is bass and drums. Here it comes. Yeah, very cool. And that's a big dynamic moment for the ending of the song, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I'll just give a little more of a tour. So yeah, the bass, I mean, I'm assuming you did most of the guitar and bass recording as a DI, right? And then you use like amp simulators, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of a simple way to do things nowadays. So the bass was recorded with a DI. I actually multed it out into a couple different amplifiers. So I printed some different versions of bass using the UAD plugin. So I printed an SVT and then also a B15. So we kind of have a little bit of dimension. There's some different sources for the bass as well. Then let's see, we get into the guitars, which we've already talked about. And here is the cool section with all the little ear candy. It might be a lot to go through all of these, but let's see. This kind of stuff at the end. Lots of little cool little keyboard parts that come in. There's this one. Organ coming in there. That's in the bridge, right?
Yep.
One more little thing is that the Howling Riser. That's a cool one. Is that actually a garage band?
Oh yeah.
It's like an EDM riser. I thought that was a cool choice.
So
like sound
again,
effect stuff. It's neat.
Yeah,
that's
like,
just the waves coming in the ocean. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that was just one of those things that I just heard, and I feel like I've seen interviews with people, and you tell me this is your field, but like you might go make that sound yourself organically. Like you might find a way to create that sound, and that whatever that is, like I could hear. Yeah, like I had to look all through all the different GarageBand things, right. And I found that, and it's like that's what it is,
Well, it works great. That's another cool little feature.
I mean, for me, like back to the Japanese breakfast thing, there was, I think it's the Blips piano.
Yeah.
I think that was like
Yeah, that's a cool one.
There's also like more of like an arpeggio thing. I forget what is doing the arpeggio thing. Curious Hammers.
Curious Hammers, yeah.
Yes, that.
Is that like a piano maybe with some effects on it?
Yeah, that sort of gave me that weird kind of more contemporary vibe rather than,
Totally, yeah. That's one thing that's cool about this tune is that it has a classic feel, but there's definitely some modern elements that make it feel like a new record. But yeah, all this stuff, the ear candy stuff, I think mix-wise, the trick here was to kind of make sure that those things are heard, but not like super in the forefront, so that they can just kind of function as candy and flourishes, but not get in the way of, Pete's guitar playing and your incredible vocals, which here, we got to get into this. So I'd love to know your inspiration behind the background vocals, because they're absolutely incredible. Definitely has that, again, that super classic feel. Was there a particular artist in mind when you were doing that, or?
Well, a lot of my sort of landscape for that comes from Smokey Robinson. In my formative 20s, I bought the Smokey Robinson Motown anthology, and just those harmonies that he sings, it's very much like Smokey's voice is just so
incredible,
powerful.
Yeah.
And if you listen to a song like Doggone Right or What's So Good About Goodbye, or obviously Tracks of My Tears, like they build these really amazing chords behind
with vocals, right?
The
Temptation. The Temptations comes to mind as well. I mean, I to me, it feels like some of those great vocal groups from the Motown tradition. Yeah, I'd love to just solo just those backgrounds for just 1 second, just so we can hear what that's about. Let me navigate through this giant session of mine. Okay, so I'm just going to play a little bit of the background vocals here. Ooh! I love that part. It's so cool. Maybe it's worth talking a little bit about how I mixed that, because it was very layered up. Yeah, let's count them. 1, 2. There's 2 layers of each, right? Each voice.
Right. Well, I learned from you. You were like, let's double everything. So
right. Yep.
These vocals are actually the second version. Like I re-recorded.
That's right. You redid that. That's
all of the vocals.
that's right. I forgot about that. Because you're like, yeah, I think I can do better. So we recut some of the vocals and then we put it together afterwards. Right. Maybe it's worth mentioning, like talking a little bit about doubling. I mean, we can assume some of this audience or people who might watch this might know what doubling is, but doubling is when you record something twice and layer it, basically, right? So yeah, like your lead vocal is doubled, but if you look at it, the lead vocal has very little of the double featured, right? So this is the lead. You can see where the fader's at right here, and this is the double, and so it's just kind of tucked in there. That was really a very conscious choice. I tried putting the double in louder.
Yep.
And I was just feeling it more as a little bit of a single, and then the double just kind of adds a little texture to it. So just a tiny bit of thickness. In my estimation, that's usually how it goes with a vocal. You're either going to have the double pretty even, or you're just going to add it in a tiny bit. Now, that's, of course, on the lead vocal, which, to be clear, is living in the middle of the stereo field. So it's in the center, and it's like the loudest vocal, right?
You and I also had an exchange, which this was the true moment when I knew you were a full card-carrying badass, where
stop.
I had seen a video on YouTube talking about how John Lennon, my hero, kind of got tired of doubling vocals all the time, so they just said, "Oh, just duplicate the vocal track."
Right. And for those who are not familiar, there's this thing called ADT, which is I think that's the name of it, ADT. It's a system that one of the engineers at Abbey Road devised, so that John Lennon wouldn't have to double his vocals, right?
Yeah, and I guess they say add a little bit of delay or something like that. And so I said that, and you were like, "Yeah, I've heard about that. That's the John Lennon thing." Like, you knew what it was, and you're like, no, it's better to just double it. And I was like, damn, this guy really knows what he's talking about.
Oh, that's cool, man. Well, yeah, I also just that might be part of my philosophy. I kind of like doing things the hard way sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you do it the hard way and it doesn't work, then you can always do it the easy way after.
Right.
But, you get something special when you really put that extra effort in. So yeah, I actually asked you to double it, and then we didn't end up using it that much. So, but I do think it adds enough texture that it's cool. It was a good choice to have it in there. But that's also that's very much a mixed decision. The whole like how much we're going to feature the double in relation to the lead. Again, that's kind of like the choose your own adventure coming in. Like, if you say, we're going to use the doubled vocal and this is going to be the way it's going to be, it's my way or the highway kind of thing. If you're rigid about that, can miss out on what can happen when you're just kind of in the moment and listening to what you have coming out of the speakers. It's a totally different approach, and I really think that you get the best mixes when you're just really listening in the moment and not like with a plan or a strategy.
Agreed.
So yeah, lead and double in the middle, and then we've got the layers. And so when we double the layers, we have one on one side and then one on the other. So each layer has its own double. And then what I did is I kind of spread them out across the stereo field, out of the way of the lead, but not in the extreme sides of the stereo field, because that's where Pete is living. Pete's on the extreme side. So they're kind of living, somewhere in the middle-ish. And what I did is I took the lower parts and I made them a little more in the center than the other ones. Consciously turned down the low part just a tiny bit too, because it was just an aesthetic thing. I thought it just kind of blended in a little better when the low part was slightly less volume. Like you can see that right here.
Yeah, to my layman's ears, I guess I always sonically want to feel like all of the musicians are in the same room.
Right.
Like that's back to your point about how people used to record. Like I love those. Have you ever listened to the Pet Sounds box set?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they have the tracking sessions in that.
That's right, the tracking sessions, yeah. They have like outtakes and stuff, right?
Yeah. They do all of that stuff live.
Incredible.
And it's just like, God, like, so that's what
Humbling.
I'm always, yeah. But so like with the background vocals and I always like everything to sound like it's in the same room, and I think you definitely pull it off with this mix. I mean, it's
I
great.
appreciate that. Yeah, a big part of mixing is keeping things kind of glued together, and having things kind of come together, especially when you have something that was, tracked so separately. In the modern age, we really have to make a lot of effort to put it back together, so to speak. We're almost done here, but I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. I was kind of curious about the lyrics. You don't have to be too specific. I don't know if this is about anything specific. To me, it feels like what I love about it is that it seems like it's kind of a negative title in a way, it's too late. But what it really, the way it resonates with me is that it's more like the vibe of acceptance, and how that can be a positive thing. I mean, am I reading that right?
Yeah. To be totally honest with you, the song came in an instant. It came from that late night session, and I just said, "Too late."
That first lyric came right away, right? Yeah.
Like you can hear it on my voice memo there. You can hear I just say, "Too late." I did not plan that. Back to what you were just saying, it was like a very spontaneous improvisational moment. So then the challenge becomes, okay, what is this song about?
Yeah, that's where the real work begins, right?
So I will be honest, there was something going on in my life that I jumped on it. Like I stuck with, and I wrote there are a whole different set of lyrics before the ones that are on this recording that I tweaked. I came up with new lyrics. I think, again, another problem I find is that sometimes something can sound too written,
Yeah, sure.
Another person that I often look to and who kind of helped me come out of my writer's block was Lou Reed. I listened to some of the early Velvet Underground stuff. And Lou is such an amazing lyricist, and his lyrics are they're so powerful, but he doesn't use a lot of big words. Like it's
not
direct.
like intellectual or literary or whatever, right? That's part of the beauty of rock and roll.
Exactly. So I tried to do that with these lyrics.
Keep it casual, right?
Keep it casual.
It's also quite open-ended, like. If it is about something specific, it's hard to tell. And I think it's very relatable in that way.
Yeah. I mean, but to your point, I think the situation that I was thinking of was one that I've written some seriously negative songs in my past. Yeah. I don't want it to be like an accusatory negative song. I'm glad that you're saying that you feel like it's maybe somebody trying to achieve acceptance of a situation. And I think, yes, that's basically what I was trying for.
It's not a sad song to me. To me, it's like it's quite a happy song, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe not happy. Maybe happy is not the right word, but it's got a brighter vibe to it, even though it's so there's kind of a juxtaposition there of maybe a dark subject matter that's sort of like looked at in a more lighthearted way.
Well, and again, I know this sounds silly, and I'm sorry to keep repeating myself, but I really was thinking a lot about Irma Thomas, like crazily,
like even lyrically speaking.
Yeah, I can't remember if I sent you like the songs that I had in my head. She has a song called "Take a Look at This Heart." I'm the girl that wants you. I think it's called "Take a Look at This Heart." It's an Alan Toussaint song. Okay. There's another song that she wrote called, that she sings called "While the City Sleeps," and that's a Randy Newman song. Was one of his early songs. Oh, wow. When he was just a staff songwriter, and Randy Newman's Alan Toussaint and Randy Newman are two of my biggest heroes. But anyway, when Irma Thomas sings these songs, she has a vulnerability, but she has power in her vocals. So I was just picturing her just too late, the feeling is gone. She's sad, but like you're saying, she kind of got over it a little bit, and so I was basically just trying to channel her.
Well, you're in good company with the topic of acceptance. one of the greatest songs of all time, "Let It Be."
Yes,
it has that kind of vibe to me.
Right.
Very
Cool.
similar subject matter. Very
Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks for doing this, man. This is cool. We should do this more often.
Yes. Well,
We got to make another song. Isn't that what we got to do now?
I'm almost done with it.
Okay, so you're working on something now?
Yep. Yes. I had another song kicking around. Same idea. Same sort of writing session first, and then trying to flesh it out. Like, so back to the technical part of the recording.
Yeah.
From my end, what it starts with is a scratch track of me playing acoustic guitar and singing to the drum beat.
Okay.
That's what I do.
And you build it up from there, right?
And I build it from a scratch, open mic with vocal and acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then everything gets built on top of that. I don't know if that track actually survived what you received. I would think it would be there.
I don't think it was in there, no, but I'd be curious
Really?
to hear that. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, that's a great way to do it. You know, you just get the tune laid out, get the architecture of it, and then throw the kitchen sink into it, and then kind of back it off, right?
Right.
Well, I'm really excited to hear the next song, and super excited to mix that as well.
Awesome. I'm also excited.
What else is next for you? Do you have any more shows coming up in New York?
Yeah, I have some shows coming up. I just played one at LIC Bar.
Yeah, right. I saw that.
So I need to call them and say, "Hey, that was awesome. Can I play
People
there
were
again?"
dancing apparently to this song, so they're going to ask you back.
They were dancing. Yeah, I have something coming up at a place called Freddy's. I don't know if you ever went to Freddy's Bar when you were here in Park Slope, but that's a great place. And then what I'm trying to do is find places that are slightly outside of the city. I played a gig in Northampton earlier this year.
Cool.
I would like to explore like the Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
I would like to. I'm from the South Shore of Massachusetts. I lived there for a bit, so I want to like find places where I can just get to easily, and then just keep sort of playing around there.
Yeah, sounds like a plan, and it's cool. You can do solo gigs, right? So is it just a guitar and vocal then?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. Tony Mason, who plays drums on I Miss the Comforts of Home. Mm-hmm. He's a fantastic drummer, and then maybe add some other people. I always love the idea of having a band, but I realize that's a whole different animal. Like, it's
a lot of work getting everyone together and making that happen. So I think it's cool that you can do solo stuff. That's neat. And let me know the specifics of the dates that you're playing, and I can like put them in the show notes and whatever.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll let people know. And for those who don't know, the song Too Late by Rod Alonzo comes out April 7th, right?
Midnight.
At midnight. Yeah. So make sure you stay up late and get ready for that.
Monday night, we'll have a Monday night
here, but
release party.
Wait, is it? No, it's 9 p.m. here and midnight in New York. Right, I think that's how it works. On Yardlights Records. So you are officially my second artist in addition to Bandy. So this is another exciting thing.
What's the serial number of Too Late? Is it 0003?
I'm not sure. I got to get those catalog numbers in order for sure. But yeah, I'm super happy to be a part of it, and thanks for involving me. I'd love the song.
Thank you so much. This has been an incredible experience.
Very, very cool. And so check out Too Late, April 7th, and hopefully we'll be doing some more of this soon, more of this backyard breakdown thing. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.